It's the invitation that's issued by our friends at Local Environmental Services at the end of every single week. A chance to blow off a little steam, to take this microphone, this platform, and use it. It's a tradition we call Trash Talk! All right, this one from Ronnie, who writes in and says, all right, I get it. No major Canadian party is adequately addressing the housing crisis, and I'm stuck living with my mom. Well, I find it extremely difficult to find a place of my own. The Liberals have announced plans to build housing in Ontario, but nothing much beyond that. Funding to construct 2,000 new homes announced, but it's not a stretch to say that's not even a drop in the bucket of this recommendation for 3.5 million new builds over the next 7 years. They're putting a Band-Aid on a giant wound. Meantime, the Conservatives too busy running ads that either introduce one of the most insufferable politicians in the history of Confederation or releasing ads that are partly misguided attacks on the carbon tax. Ronnie says it feels like we're in a campaign period for an election 2 years away. They'd rather attack each other instead of working together to find common sense solutions to issues affecting the entire country. That from Ronnie. How about this one from Michelle, who says, Jespo, I caught your show on September 13th where you talked to Dr. Greenaway and Jennifer Laywetz about trans healthcare and the Conservative Convention. Interesting interviews with both guests, but you know what's missing from your coverage of the Conservative Convention? The voice of actual transgender people. You know, the people being targeted by the policies that the delegates passed this weekend. It was great that you brought in Dr. Kate Greenaway. She managed to bring some light to the matter of transgender care. However, Ms. Laywetz was enormously evasive of your direct questions about those anti-trans policy measures. Michelle says, let me be direct here. As a transgender person, I am beyond livid with the fact that every time a Conservative Party gets together to discuss policy, my right to exist or move through society in peace suddenly is put on the table for debate. You know, every single election, every policy convention, hell, even plain ordinary political speeches, I find my existence threatened, like I'm some sort of threat to other people's realities. How would you feel if your right to walk down the street was suddenly brought into question because somebody decided that your existence represented some kind of threat? Let me be abundantly clear here. That policy resolution last weekend explicitly calls for transgender women to be barred from using women's bathrooms, locker rooms, other facilities. It is very direct in calling for that. It is, in essence, saying to transgender women, very specifically, you have no right to a place in society. When basics like using a washroom when out in public are suddenly withdrawn with the force of law, what other message are people like me to take from that? Apparently, having every male bodied at any point in life immediately makes the individual some kind of sexual predator. I'm no predator, nor is any other transgender person I know. Yet, somehow, these folks have cooked up an image of trans people that includes being a predator as some sort of intrinsic trait. So where I sit, the Conservative base went off and adopted a bunch of policies that have no basis in objective reality, with all the obvious intent to erase me and mine from society. No party that wants to erase an entire subgroup from society to assuage the fears of a few who choose to be ill-informed deserves a chance at power. That from Michelle. Michelle, thanks for sharing. And this one from Morgan, who says that part of your episode earlier this week on Tuesday where you read Garth's email. Remember Garth was a little tough on the comment that you made, Johnny? So here Morgan says, I want to preface this by saying this is not a personal attack on Garth or anybody that's right of center politically. While somebody like him is entitled to their opinion, whatever happened to the nuance or the context of the message being delivered, instead of just hearing what you want because your mind's already made up? Garth basically was saying that we were like left-leaning and Trudeau apologists and the like, right? He says, so like Johnny said, we're like 2 years out from election. A lot can change as far as policy goes. The same would be true if roles were reversed and the Liberals had the lead and the Conservatives were behind. That has nothing to do with political leanings. That's just a fact. I find that as we go along, especially on social media, more and more people just want to see confirmation bias. They want to see their own belief system supported everywhere they go. You don't like what mainstream media says? Maybe you should sit back and reflect on why you don't like it. Maybe it's your bias getting in the way. Maybe you don't want to have to face the hard truths of reality. It's also really easy to point out past wrongdoing when a lot of time has passed, as opposed to having information available present day. The only way, says Morgan, that we can change things for the better, agree to meet on the middle, is we're open to hearing all sides of a conversation instead of shutting things down we don't want to hear. He says, I'm going to add that I'm a 41-year-old, straight white male, center of the road politically, and I certainly don't feel under siege about anything. And it's high time that other people should have the same advantages that I've had in my entire life. If you're like me and that's a sticking point for you, maybe you should ask yourself why. Morgan says, keep up the real talk. That's why I listen. I want conversations by real people with real feelings and real opinions, whether I agree with them or not. Morgan, we love that. You can send us your trash talk anytime to talk@ryanjesperson.com. It's proudly presented by our friends at Local Environmental Services. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Let us know what you thought about the show. Tell all your friends, like, share, subscribe, and we'll see ya on Monday.